what I realized is that there's a lot of people out there wandering this lovely world we have who have no one to talk to about the weird, the awkward, the spiritual things that happen, the thoughts, the channeling, all of that. And so that's where Awkwardly Zen was born, where it was just a safe space to explore spirituality, where we could dip our toes in. We don't dig deep into much. It's much more like, hey, let's have a conversation. Let's hold space for one another to have different points of view in a safe way.
Hello, welcome to our show, Embracing Your Design for Midlife Transformation. The tagline, come alive to impact more lives. Enjoy our show. Today, I'm so honored to have a special guest, Ari Hunniford. I actually joined her community in meetup called Awkwardly Zen. It's such a fun community. We can all unite and share. So let us welcome Ari.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me, Sunny.
We are inviting soulful professionals like Ari coming here to share the special path when we navigate our spirituality. So I wonder, do you go back and reflect about your journey?
I always considered myself spiritual. I didn't grow up in any organized religion, and I always would say, I feel like I'm more spiritual, but honestly, I don't think I had any concept of what that meant. It was just something to say. I believed in something bigger than me, I guess. But then about 6 years ago, I lost someone very close to me to their mental health issues. And when that happened, dealing with that grief was very challenging. And I kind of powered through as I did everything in life at that point. And then the holidays hit and I was really struggling. I found myself looking for natural options to help me with my grief. And that led me to using essential oils, which led me to learning more about the chakras and energy and frequencies and all of these things. And then I had this great event where I asked all these people who were metaphysical to my house to talk about these things and experience them. And it just kind of blew a door open. And so I started going and getting readings, and I started taking classes, and it's like so many people do when they first get going on their spiritual path. And I kept getting these messages that I was supposed to start this big thing. I was supposed to do this big thing. And if you get those messages, it can be really daunting because I was like, I don't know what that means. What does that mean? And, then it came out that I was supposed to start this group, and I thought, I'm so new at this. Who am I? I'm not a guru. I'm not some spiritual leader. But as I went on and I talked to more people, what I realized was that I had a group of friends that I could talk to about this. And that's really helpful, right? Because some of it feels very weird, very awkward. And so what I realized is that there's a lot of people out there wandering this lovely world we have who have no one to talk to about the weird, the awkward, the spiritual things that happen, the thoughts, the channeling, all of that. And so that's where Awkwardly Zen was born, where it was just a safe space to explore spirituality, where we could dip our toes in. We don't dig deep into much. It's much more like, hey, let's have a conversation. Let's hold space for one another to have different points of view in a safe way. And I started it in 2020. I should say a group of us started it in 2020 because thank goodness I had a great group of people to help me get going with it because it blew up. And, now we're almost 4 years later and we've got over 16,000 people. We're in 4 countries. We've got 16 locations and we're about to hit another growth spurt, I think. So it's just been such a fun thing to navigate my own personal journey while also creating this space for other people. And I'll tell you, community, I feel like it's key to the ease that can be in spirituality. Spirituality is so vast. There's so many different aspects of it that you can look into. And so it gets really, at least for me, it was very exciting at the beginning. And it still is exciting. There's still these things that pop up. I just taught a psychic development class last night, and I had this great group it happened to be all women. were so excited to start digging in, to start figuring out what they could do and how their abilities might work and which of the clairs was the one that they might want to focus on first. And watching that is so refreshing to me, because sometimes when you're in the path, when you're going down it more, and especially if you're running a community or you're trying to help other people, you're a practitioner, it can get to a point where you kind of almost get bogged down because it becomes work. And I'm really working this year on bringing in more play, bringing in more fun, bringing in more joy, because that's what it was like at the beginning. And helping others figure it out is one of my biggest passions, because it brings that joy back into my life.
My journey is similar like that, go through a lot of losses, but not the life and death loss. It's more like identity loss. I came to the country, immigrants, and I got science degree, working in the pharmaceutical, but then I don't feel fit in. Then I become single mom, I become caregiver. My youngest son has a terminal ill problem, and the doctor say, no one can live after 18. But he's 26, we'll be 27 pretty soon. So I know this is kind of give me a sign. So I start to go inner to say who I really am. It's just like not clear. So I look for tools and connect with people spiritual, and particularly after the COVID Clubhouse, it got so many voices, people just going there to share. The more I hear, wow, we are all in this together. We all have this shift. Right? So that's why I think it's so important, like you said, have a community. So people don't judge other, because we're coming from different backgrounds. So we need to honor that differences.
Yeah. Right. Sunny, it feels so interesting to me, because the concept of oneness comes up in spirituality so much. And then I think sometimes in that oneness you can get lost. But one of the most beautiful things I think about being human is that individuality, is that ability to shift and change and morph. And I always say, I don't believe in absolute truth anymore, because everything I have believed has shifted, has changed, has adjusted. And what I believe today may be completely different than what I believe tomorrow, because I'm constantly learning new things. And especially in this community, if you are talking with people and something they say resonates with you, I don't want to be so stubborn in my ways that I can't hear it, I can't embrace it, I can't integrate it. And so it's been such a beautiful journey, because let me tell you, that is not who this girl was before. And I love the different tools that are out there, things like Gene Keys, human design. I use tarot myself. I work with the elements. Like, there's so many different ways for all of us to tap in. And I love how many of you scientists are working with both, right? Because I think that there's so much beauty that comes in both science and in metaphysics, that we're starting to see that crossover more and more and more. And I can't wait.
Exactly. That is my shift, because I train as molecular biologists. So I study DNA, I clone DNA, I create some kind of construct by my mind. I want to do this, I want to do that, right? This is just the molecular level. And we think we can express the same way. But we all know that, like, the product is not really aligned with my left brain. I'm a scientist, analytical mind, but now it's kind of more in the middle. I love using the mind, but I also know the mind is tricky. The quantum level really need to merge with our body. Our body wisdom can refrain our mind. So that's how I become to go to the vertical way to see what exactly my mind is.
I always think of the moon. And when we have those super moons and they seem like they're so giant, it's so big. And our brains are doing that. Like, the moon's not any bigger than it is any other time, but we see it that way. And every time that happens, I'm like, I can't trust anything that's going on in here, because we have created this or Source created this lovely package for us that is so flawed and so beautiful, but it's just so amazing to me when I think about that. And when somebody is so absolute about anything, I'm always like, how are you so sure about that? Because everything is changing. You know, what we believed 100 years ago is completely different scientifically even than what we do now. So I love science. I believe in science, don't get me wrong. But I do love the idea that it is constantly shifting as well, right? We're constantly learning new things. And I think that's really cool. I always say we're not in competition with any other group, or I'm not in competition with any other psychic, because I want people to find what they need to find and hear what they need to hear. And if it's not me, I'm not for everybody, then maybe it's with you. And if it's not you, then there are no shortage of people out there who are sharing their experiences and what they have learned. And I just think it's such a cool time to be in this kind of community, in this kind of world where everything is opening up. And I have so much respect for all of the spiritual, metaphysical people who came before and had to fight and had to hide. We've got beautiful stories of some of our members who have been in spirituality for 50, 60, 70 years, talking about hiding in the bookstore at the occult section. And I'm like, I walk into Barnes and Noble and there's tarot cards right there. Like, I have it easy. So it's just, it is beautiful. And I do love, you know, the sleeping phoenix thing is definitely a trend in my life, right? It comes through in so many different types of spirituality. In Kabbalah, I came in, I think it's on 5, which is very similar energy. And so I love those crossovers of all of these different things.
Well, that is how the human design system come to my awareness, because they have the body and mind, and they merge the 4 different esoterics. You mentioned the Kabbalah is one of that. Chakra is the other one. And astrology, that is the solar system imprinting. And the one I really fascinated is the I Ching, the hexagram, and that is the base for the gene keys. So gene keys also put Kabbalah together. So it's become, it's kind of the tool and informations, right? They have all the 64 different combinations. Because the hexagram got 6 lines. Each line has a 2 option, right? Yin and yang. That's a duality, a 3D. So then you can see 2, 2, 2, 2 times 6 times, that's 64. And that 64 in the ancient time, of course they don't have, DNA, RNA. They just observe, say, okay, it's the 8 different phenomena, like the wind, the thunder, the water, the fire. So they're using that as a symbol to create a whole hexagram. Because based on the system, our soul actually is a passenger. We observe, we experience. Our body is a vehicle. It's a car or take us to places. And our mind is the driver. So if the passenger on the back fall asleep, and the driver can drive anywhere we want to go, right? But they're not giving the clear instruction. So until our conscious level go higher and start to take control, right? Then we can instruct the driver, the mind, take our fancy vehicle to places. It's just painting the picture about we are observer our body and mind, but sometimes we confuse about our take too seriously. I need to do this, or I want to be the best beautiful body. This is not even us, but we do need a healthy body, so it can take us to places. The gene keys is, other than the information, the second level we can use is using as a roadmap. So they have 3 sequences. The first is called activation. That is to give us a hint about what we're here to do and who we really are, what is our life purpose. It's all on the activation sequence. Then you go to Venus. That is I think you're familiar with those imprinting process. They got three cycle of the 7 years, right? So you imprinting your connection with yourself, then you imprinting about your intellects, then also the emotion. So that is in Venus. Then the last one is the pearl, is to indicate us we coming down to have our vocation. That means it's not only making the money, but it's aligned with our soul and what kind of structure we need to merge with our personal brand. Every sphere on that sequences, it's become a portal. If you can shift that shadow frequency or consciousness higher to the gift, then your creativity, the authenticity is all come out. Then eventually, who knows, because the background energy going higher, we might reach that 5D personality. That's called city. You merge with the light. You don't have a shadow left. Like, you think about shadow. If you have a light on the back, you can see yourself with the shadow. That's because we got matter. We got something to block the light, right? But if you finally let go of the junk and emotions and stuff, we can become a crystal. Then say we just merge with the light. So that is the 3 level of the consciousness. But of course, knowing the knowledge is not necessarily let us to go to the places. It's need to embody. So Gene Key is embodiment tool too. I using that to implement behaviors to my clients, because if you merge that awareness about who we are and all those portals with the lifestyle, then you can live the truth. Nobody's like ultimate truth. Your truth is alignment with all your inner energy imprinting, and also honor yourself, right? So every time I read profile, everybody's like a gods and goddess. They have all this genius and we think they're cool, but sometimes we see the shadow only. So then when we know our energy flow, then combined with the acceptance about who we are, then we understand like we can differentiate us from others. So we are not mimic others anymore. Just like we all apples, because we have a same genetic, right? We are human beings. But think about how many variety in apples. And how can you compare the green apple to a red apple?
Absolutely. Right. You got sweet, you got sour, you got all of it. Yeah, absolutely. And then there's all these people who are morphing them together, right? And so then we create all new apples. The concept of competition, I've lived my life as a pretty competitive person up until recently. And that was one of the messages that my guides and my angels gave me when I was starting Awkwardly Zen was, that's got to go. Because there's going to be lots of groups like Awkwardly Zen starting all over the world. And at some point, you're all going to have to come together. Like that's the point of this, right? Is that we are creating these safe spaces all over so that people can find the group that works for them and explore their own thing. And whether that's through gene keys or human design or anything, it just is such a cool thing to watch right now. But unfortunately, within the spiritual community, there's some people who are still holding on to that very human concept, but trying to hold space for them where they are, because fear is a legit thing in human body. It's such a fascinating world to be in. But I love to hear how that gene key is like helping us figure out how to maybe transcend that a little bit, it feels like.
Yeah, well, that's my honor to review your profile, because when I read it, I say, wow, you are definitely sleeping phoenix. It's waking up and bring all the knowledge and wisdom and communities into the 3D. We only have limited time. So what I can do is disclose your activation sequence. They have 4 spheres in that sequence. And the first set is called life work and evolution. That too is the pair and kind of indicates the doing part. So what you coming here to do. And the other 2 is called radiance and purpose. And that is your beingness. That means if you don't have your name, you don't have a body, you don't have any identity, that's who you are. Give you some hints because they cannot define us, right? We are changing all the time because all the quantum energy, right? So your life work start with 55. That number, I believe you are so familiar with it if you know the human design. See, human design has 2 key numbers, 55 and 49. They all indicate a huge change. On the 6 lines, there's a 1 number associated with your doing. That's 2. 2, if you consider that's a house, 2-story house. And 1, 2, 3 lines are the first floor people. But 3 is tricky. 3 is always up and down. So it kind of like in between. And 4 to 6 are the second floor people. So if you think you're 2, that is the hermit. Now you are in the first floor, but you'd like to kind of on the corner and observe. Then you need your me time. You need to reflect with your mind, something you observe. That's the hermit. So your life work 55 from the lower shadow frequency is the victimization. That means you might have this programming, why me? And life is not fair. Or why they are suffering, I need to save them. It's a lot of those, like, everything is a victim. Something's wrong here. But then you understand through all the work, maybe, some kind of shocking experience, you understand that's just the life. It's not bad or good. It's just coming and going. So you start to have this freedom. Once you get out all those attachments, the highest for you is freedom. And that is you come down to transmute. So that is your life work.
I feel that one, Sunny. Okay. The victim mindset is absolutely the biggest thing I had to work on, that and anger issues as I came into spirituality. And absolutely. And the song that makes me cry is George Michael's Freedom, because, and so it's so fun when you say those things, because it's all resonating with me of work I am finishing and actively doing consistently. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
In 2024, based on the I Ching Society, is the 55. The whole year is for us to shift from victimization to liberation.
Love it. Love it.
That
so it probably explains some things popping up here lately. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
It is nice when we have places where we can share so we can learn from others, isn't it?
Exactly. I'm so happy to be part of it, because when you involve, everybody involved with you. So that's cool. And your evolution, that's a part of your doing keys. This actually goes through a lot of life challenges or learning the skills. We will have a moment like, I don't need to live the same life anymore. So you will have an evolution. But the evolution here is not fighting back or elimination. It's more like go inner and start to accepting and loving yourself more. So that is the evolution. And your key is 59, 59.2. So you will have this dishonesty. It's not moral, try to cheat, not that. It's like you don't accept who you are. Like, we just label ourselves usually different identities, but we don't do the quantum way. So you're from dishonesty to think, I need to find who I am. So then you go to this intimacy. That's your gift, which means you start to bond yourself better. And you start to love and say, oh, Aries is such a good person.
Wait, I don't hate me. It's so great. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I always say part of my mission right now and what I'm going for is just feeling comfortable in my own skin. Because absolutely I didn't for a long time. And I still have moments where I don't. So that fits perfectly.
Then you will have a breakthrough. Allow yourself to be someone you don't know. Sometimes like the mind say, I need to be, what is the roles, what's the title? But when you give it more space and more playfulness, you can have a breakthrough. So your breakthrough, you will go to your beingness. The first key is called Radiance. You are 34, and this time the being, you got this profile 4. The 4 combined with your radiance, you need to have a friendly community to make you healthy and happy. I coaching people as a burnout is because they are not aligned. They force too much and they don't really have the space and time to just flow with it. They want to have, very structured thing to get done, and they lose their alignments. But for you, it's 34. So you will have from the shadow force, like want to go through it, because you are one of the manifesting generators. Manifesting generators, their signature channels, one of them is 34 and 20. That's your beingness. So you couldn't get out that power. That's who you are. But you can use it differently. So you turn your force become the strength. 34 is the journey to realize fighting, blocking, protection. It's not a good strategy. You should just flow with it and grow the skills how to ride with the waves. Right? So that's your radiance.
Absolutely. My whole life, I've been like, go, go, go. And people call me a force all the time. Oh, no. So that's even funny. But learning these last 5 years to adapt that, and that I don't need to use that force to manipulate or to get what I want or to do all of that. I can fall into the energy and allow that surrender to happen. Again, not always my strong point, but it's what I'm working on, so it resonates completely.
Once you really align with that strength, your energy flow naturally. You can actually work longer hours, but not burning you off. But of course, we need a break, right? We don't want to do all the time. We still follow the rhythm. That would be perfect. Then the other one, that's the purpose. See, a lot of people think about life purpose is something we do. We need to have a mission. There's something we need to contribute our gifts, which is all correct. But the deeper or higher purpose is really within the being. Because you just show up and you have particular imprinting, your energy, and even we don't say anything, we are making the impact because you're different. So even you just like a tree survive 1,000 years, it's tons of wisdom. When you get to the tree, you can feel this have some kind of spirit, right? We all have that. So the beingness will give us the higher purpose, but align with our doing parts. Then that's how we can be totally aligned and become an amazing being, become really who we are. So your purpose is 20. And so from the lower vibrations, you might tend to see something just like in the surface. So you might not have patience to go deeper, to see what I do this for. You just kind of grab it and run because you are manifesting generator. But the 20 give you more of the reflection because particularly you are in the community, you start to observe different behaviors or different insights, right? Then you can start to play with it. So then you found that you become more of the self-assurance. It's not arrogance. It's like confidence, but because just like you say, you live with your own skin. You don't feel like you have to fit in and worry about people's opinions. You just become assured. That's your purpose.
I mean, I feel like what you just said there with those 4 things, that is definitely the path I'm walking on. So it's the kind of thing when you look at that where you go, you can't make this stuff up, right? Because that wouldn't make sense for everybody, but you absolutely just basically walked me through my life. So thanks for that, Sunny. It's so fun to get those messages. And then, like I said, just get them across the board, right? Because eventually I feel like this lovely thick skull that keeps my brain safe is going to allow all of that in, and I'll actually like embrace it. And I'm starting to, I think that's one of the things on that is giving myself more grace when I don't do well, when I don't allow, when I don't just be, when that do energy that I have pushes forward. But man, does it sound really awesome to get to where I hopefully am headed and what I'll allow as we go on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think what you're doing here with sharing it so openly, right, is really important, because I think a lot of people who might know me now, who didn't know me 10 years ago, they don't understand the major shift that has happened and is continuing to happen. And I can't wait in 10 years, the people who will meet me then and not understand who I was now, right? So sharing this, I think, helps give people understanding and again, hopefully more grace for themselves as they're going through all of this, because it's really easy to beat myself up for all the victim things that come up, but it's part of me. It's part of my plan this time around. So to be able to just embrace that and go, okay, now let's go ahead and lean into it and get through it is really great.
We can see ourselves differently, and it's still up to us want to take the next step. Like, I am the lifestyle coach. A lot of time it's just our mind not ready. Say, I'm not that. And I love the stress. I addicted to pain.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I used to brag about how tense I was. Like, it boggles my brain. I literally used to be like, my massage therapist says she's never felt a back more messed up than mine. And I would like wear it like a badge of honor. And when I think of that now, I'm just like, why? So funny. Yeah, absolutely.
We all need that. Like, for myself, the past 30 years, I'm very, very unhappy. I'm just like, I have all this desire, want to be a scientist, but I cannot because my family situation, I have to quit. Then I navigated through 20 years, don't know why people treat me like this, because I don't know who I am. I don't have a clear idea. So people can sense that. So they can run over like a doormat. But once I determined I want to be happy, then things start to change. It's really that thoughts. You have that moments, you decide to do something different, then you can be free. Everybody can do it.
Yeah. But what I love about Gene Keys and human design is that when you're not in that moment yet, right? When you haven't gotten there, there's still so much to learn from it.
Yeah.
The first time I got a human design reading, she was like, your emotional gates are crazy open. You must be all over the place. And I was so offended. And then I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, absolutely. And it helps me now, because when I get emotional, it's like, okay, this is part of you, and just wait a second. You'll be fine in a minute. And then so instead of fighting it, it's just like, okay, we're going to just like lean in, we're going to get through this emotion. So I think that the gene keys in the human design is such a beautiful tool to work through all of the things and understand more about where you are right now, but where you can go. It's just so cool to me.
I'm so glad you step out, then you have this beautiful community. And I would like to know how people can find you and join.
Sure. So Awkwardly Zen, you can go to awkwardlyzen.com, and if you want to explore that, we have amazing partners who are on there. You're going to see Sunny on there here in a minute. And then also you can find our different communities. We are based mostly on Meetup, which is an amazing app platform. And you can go on and find Awkwardly Zen and find the location closest to you. Like I said, we have 16. We do 30 free events every single month. So it doesn't, and most of them are online. So you don't need to worry about if you don't have one in your area. You can still join us and meet people from all over the world. And then we are starting to do some pop-up events in some of our locations, which is really fun and really exciting. So you can find all of that there. You can also find me personally on the partner page on awkwardlyzen.com. So if you want to do a reading with me or a coaching session, I teach a lot of classes, so you can check that out too. And and then also finding me on Instagram, it's Ari Hunniford. And if you want to find me on YouTube, it is Awkwardly Psychic, because that is how I feel. So those are some of the places that you can find me. And I'm starting to do a little bit more comedy within my spiritual sharing. And so I'm really excited about that. I just wrote a new script this morning, so there'll be a new one coming on Instagram here soon. So when you guys go into your human design and the gene keys and everything, I'm so grateful there's people like you who can actually like dig through it, because I'm like, okay, and you'll have to tell me 10 times. I printed all the stuff you sent me so I can keep reading it. But it's so great how we're all different, but yet we all get to help each other find our true selves. It's beautiful.
Thank you so much, Ari. Continue to shine your lights. Send more of the freedom energy to us. Love yourself more and turn your force into a powerful strength, and continue become who you are and manifesting whatever you deserve.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you. Take care, Ari.